It's a sad day to be a Seahawk fan. Welcome back to College Knowledge 304. We're going to have some good topics today, including some free agency signings that I've liked to see from other teams and signings that I didn't really like from other teams. We're going to be talking about college basketball a little bit, so it's going to be a good segment. So some of the teams in free agency I felt like have done good have been the Raiders. If you look at who they've added a lot of quality players that are going to contribute to the team this year, players that are good, and I feel like the Raiders are going to be on the upswing. I believe getting Jimmy Garoppolo over Derek Carr's even an upgrade there. I think it's going to be a better fit for the Raiders. And I could see the Raiders making the playoffs next year with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I feel like some other teams that have done good are, I liked how the Bengals went out and got Orlando Brown, but hopefully he'll be able to contribute better than, I think it was Collins they got last year, who didn't perform that well. Some other teams I think have done good. I think Pittsburgh went out and redid their offensive line. I think they're becoming winners in the free agency. Should help them get into the playoffs, I believe. Then some losers. I feel like the Seattle Seahawks have been losers so far in free agency. If you look at who they've added, they brought back Bobby Wagner. The guy's ancient. He's not going to be the Bobby Wagner of 5 years ago. And they brought in Devin Bush, a first-round pick out of Pittsburgh, who was one of the biggest busts in Steelers history. And that will be your two starting middle linebackers. That's going to be really bad if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan. There is no way, shape, or form I would want those two to be my middle linebackers. The only thing with Devin is he can cover a little bit, and Bobby Wagner just needs to retire at this point in his career. There's still a few good free agents left, including Ezekiel Elliott. Where he's going to end up, who knows? Of course, there's always drama with him. And I don't think he performs like he used to 3 or 4 years ago. But he could still be running back one. And some places I'd like to see him where he could go be the starting running back could maybe be Cincinnati, maybe the Jets, but whoever goes to the Jets, usually your career ends there. You can look at players like Le'Veon Bell and so on. And then there's the Aaron Rodgers. You know, what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers? Personally, I think Aaron Rodgers should just retire. He's 39 years old. He's not the Aaron Rodgers 5 or 6 years ago. But I've never been a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. So if he does stay, I feel like he should stay with the Packers. But he'll probably go to the Jets. And will he be able to do good? He should be able to with who all the Jets have added. The Jets have added a lot of players specifically to try to lure him to the team. So the Jets should be a playoff team next year with all the talent they've added. And then Odell Beckham Jr. I think a good fit would be Pittsburgh for him. I feel like he could bring the leadership quality to help the younger wide receivers. I believe it would be a good fit for him, a good target for Kenny Pickett. And although Odell's not as good as he used to be, he's still a top 20 wide receiver in the league. He's going to bring a lot of knowledge to the younger wide receivers. So I feel like Odell would be a good fit for Pittsburgh. Those are just some good free agents I saw that I feel like where they could sign. Of course, there's still a lot of good free agents left. So in college basketball, we can talk about FAU. I remember talking about FAU back on segment 2 or 3, and I said this is going to be a team that is going to do really well. And despite their facilities, because their facilities looks like a high school gym, but this team, they could end up winning the whole thing. And hopefully if they do that the school and the administration is going to pour some money into their basketball program, because their arena definitely needs big major upgrades. It's always good to root for a Cinderella team, and I do think that they could potentially win the whole thing, which would be probably the biggest Cinderella team since maybe the Hoosiers won it a long, long time ago. You know, they could make a movie like that off the FAU program. So another program I like to talk about is talking about softball, and look at what Marshall did. I'm going to tell you right now, I think that Marshall could be the FAU in basketball. This team is really good. They're well coached. They're 27-3 right now, and they're not even ranked in the top 25 for some stupid reason. But this team, I believe they have what it takes to where I wouldn't be surprised if you're seeing them in the Final Four once the college softball tournament happens. This team, they got the #1 RBI hitter and home run hitter. They got good speed. They got good pitching and good coaching. This team's going to be in softball what FAU is in basketball. So a little recap, you know, I like to think that Aaron Rodgers is going to stay a Packer, but he'll probably go to the Jets. And I liked how the Orlando Brown went to the Bengals. And we still have some quality free agents left. And it's going to be interesting to see what the draft brings. Who's going to trade up? Who's going to trade down? You know, what quarterback is Carolina going to take? I believe Carolina's going to take C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. I believe he's the best quarterback that is getting ready to come up, and he's going to have some weapons around him. So it's going to be success for him. So it's going to be interesting free agency and draft in the next coming month for football. And then not only that, but we have some spring games in college football coming up over the next month or so. It'll be really interesting to see what transfers are going to help which particular school, what recruits they brought in, how they're going to fit in line. And I believe the Sun Belt's going to have great competition. Well, that's about all I have to say. So everybody have a great afternoon, and tune in next week for College Knowledge 304.